He says, it's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zhoran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, because now we've skipped democratic socialists. We've gone to socialists. Now we're equating socialism and communism. So we moved right to communist lunatic.
That we do.
Okay, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Blue Sedition podcast. I'm Nate Brady alongside my co-host.
I'm Mike Smith, everybody. Welcome back to the Blue Sedition podcast.
Well, welcome. Yeah, glad to have. Yeah, I guess we're glad to have you. I'm glad to be happy to be here, or something.
Not bad.
We're not happy to be there here.
Okay. Not happy to be anywhere these days.
But... Yeah, feels like it. A lot of stuff has happened. I think we missed the show last week. So I don't know, some lawmakers were shot, there were military parades, a communist won the Democratic primary for New York City.
Sure.
Anything else happen? I think a senator from California was like pinned to the ground and removed from a presser.
Tackled and arrested by some, goose steppers and brown shoes. Doesn't matter.
The DOJ is suing an entire federal bench. I don't know.
Where do we start, Nate?
That's it. I want to start with, okay, so my person, because it's the most recent thing, it happened just last night, and a lot of people are losing their minds, including Trump. I want to start with Zhoran Mamdani, who defeated sex pest Andrew Cuomo. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
Okay.
Sex pest Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo and grandma killer.
Yeah.
Disgraced sex pest and grandma killer Andrew Cuomo in the New York City mayoral Democratic primary. Now, people are already acting like Mamdani has won the mayoral election. Which is, not
which
the
he
case.
Has.
I mean,
oh no, it's not the case.
I mean, yeah. But if elected in November, he would become the first Muslim and Indian American mayor of New York City, which has a very high population of both Jewish residents and Muslim Americans. So,
sure.
Wow. I mean, where do we begin with this? This is huge, I think.
It's very, very big. I think that there's a lot to unpack about it. A lot of things that we talk about on this podcast all the time. But a lot of the key takeaways here is that it just flies in the face of the conventional Democratic wisdom for running elections. I mean, he ran against Cuomo, who, for all intents and purposes, has name recognition, and not for the reasons he should. So people just know who he is. Mm-hmm. And primary voters, that's who they go with a lot of the time. Unless they're really, down ticket and they have a lot of key issues that they follow like we do. So he was up against that. He was also the mainstream media, mogul, like every CNN, MSNBC, every legacy media you could think of had thrown their hat in the ring for Cuomo and had written off the others as sort of, just up and comers or upstarts who would get in his way. It didn't matter. You had, Cavill and pundits like that just talking about Cuomo is what the Democrat Party needs and things like that. He was backed. He got the coveted endorsement from Bill Clinton. Did Cuomo?
I believe libs of TikTok as well, which is what you want.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Zohran ran a campaign about local issues. He's trying to be mayor of a city. He's like, these are the real issues facing New York. I don't care about what the rest of the world says about New York. Here are the things that matter to the people who live here. Right. And that really resonated with the actual voters. He got voters to show up because he's like, housing inequality is a problem. Transportation is a problem. These are things we need to fix in New York City, and they have real fixes that I can help with.
Right. Healthcare, childcare is a problem. He also big supporter of LGBTQ rights, pledging millions of dollars for transgender care as well and protections. Meanwhile, Cuomo's campaign spent over $20 million
Yeah.
and got blown out of the water by a progressive grassroots movement. Where have we seen this? Seems like this happens a lot, and you would think that this would be a blueprint for Democrats to follow and to understand, because this isn't going to be the last of this type of win.
No. And I think that that's the whole point, is that if we're going to do anything, we need to have a lot of our grassroots challengers, the actual people who care about running for people and not just about getting elected and then making all the money, to go out there and just campaign this way. Get loud about the actual things you're going to do, not just doing the what do they always call it, Nate? The type of battles we're always fighting. I don't even remember. Culture wars, not just doing the culture war nonsense. Like, get out there and be like, culture war be damned. Here's a real problem. Here's how I'm going to fix it. Like with Bernie's message about like health insurance sucks and we should offer a public alternative. Like, that's a very straightforward thing to campaign on.
Simple
people to
message.
Understand.
Yeah. And I think the contrast in messaging between Mamdani and Cuomo is highlighted by the fact that, once again, we have this moderate who is just promising experience and no change.
Right.
And people don't want that. People want hope and change.
Yes. And he also ran with the same sort of Biden-esque appeal of, I know how to talk to the Republicans to get them to cooperate. Yes. And you're like, no, you fucking don't.
Right.
You never do.
Listen,
sorry, but
I mean, this message needs to get across to people now, before the midterms, before 2028. People are tired of moderates. Moderates are not winning elections.
And they're ineffectual and they're ineffective. You don't know how to talk to Republicans, and they don't have any interest in talking to you.
They don't.
I think Biden proves that. He's the closest to a Republican the Democrats have had for decades, and the Republicans wanted nothing to do with it. They wouldn't work with it.
Now, I was told he was the most progressive president in our lifetime. Is that?
I'm sure you were told that by like libs of TikTok or Elon Musk or something.
All right.
But
well,
the reality doesn't align with that.
I was told that by moderate libs who wanted me to, get on board with, their.
Who wanted you to shut up and vote blue no matter who.
Right. Exactly.
And now we get to say, hey, New York, shut up and vote blue no matter who.
Right.
You hear me?
Well, and that's going to happen. I think that there are certainly a small group of people who, I want to touch on this a little bit. Okay. So there's, I've already dealt with this morning, making personal statements on my Facebook page among people that I know, who I have a lot of moderate friends who are now coming at it from the anti-Semitic angle, who are saying things like, he ran a campaign. I think I posted one of the Facebook comments on our Blue Sky. He ran a campaign filled with Jew hate, and you're like, what? He ran anti-Semitic speech after speech, and it's like, okay, citation needed, friend. Like, what? Give me the speech that he made that was anti-Semitic, and you can't do it because he is.
I think that you have a lot of. I think that this is really just showing the information gap amongst the various sects of the political spectrum, because we've talked about this before. There is an entire set of world understandings that goes along the lines of, if you're not pro-Israel and anti-Gaza, you are anti-Semitic. And they just they exist on both sides of the political spectrum pretty easily.
Right.
And so I'm guessing that there's a lot of that at play, where they're just like, he said he wanted the Gazan people to stop getting bombed. He's anti-Semitic.
And that's,
I have to imagine that's it, right? Because you're not going to find a quote that's like,
no, that's simple enough. And people, guys, we have to stop this. First of all, what's hilarious to me are the moderate liberals who are defending what is essentially, for a fact, a corrupt, extreme, right-wing Israeli government. That's what it is. You literally have the Donald Trump of Israel, and you have moderate liberals who are trying to like play this juggling act of Donald Trump is the worst thing that's ever happened to the United States, and somehow the exact same corrupt man in Israel is not. And if you criticize him, you're actually criticizing all Jews. And what are we talking about here? If you criticize Donald Trump, are you anti-Christian? No, what? It doesn't make sense.
No, it's just gibberish.
It's gibberish. It's gibberish.
And the one thing I will say about the whole thing is that I think that there is, especially with traditional liberal Democrats, where you're like just left of center, you want to be like supportive of everything. You like walk on eggshells to make sure that nobody gets hurt and stuff. And I really feel like they are so quick to jump at, you're doing this thing that makes you anti-Semitic, and they don't stop to think about it. And what would be really interesting to me is to just get some stats in front of their face. I'm going to give you some stats here, Nate, because I think this is really interesting. So Zhoran Mamdani, he's projected to win the Democrat primary in New York City, obviously, with 93% of the votes in. He's got 432,000 votes.
Okay.
Next up is Andrew Cuomo with 3,600 and oh my God, 361,000. My Lord. So he's roughly 90,000. You got to check my math, dude, because
I don't know. You're having a hard time with numbers right now, so I'm not trusting.
432,000 to 361,000.
Okay.
About 90,000 votes, right? So I'm curious to see at the end of this, like what the breakup of those voter blocks are. Like how many Jews actually came out and voted for Mamdani versus Cuomo, because I know that there's the New York City has a huge swath of Jewish people who live there and vote Democrat. So it'd be interesting to see how they actually feel about, is he anti-Semitic? Is he not anti-Semitic, etc.
It's New York City has the largest Jewish population in the country.
Right.
So exactly. I don't want to hear it, guys. I don't want to hear it.
If the guy ran an anti-Semitic campaign and he got the Jews to vote for him, then I guess good on him. I don't even know.
But no, I'm not even feeding into that narrative. It's just a ridiculous narrative. Okay. But I will share with you the narrative that we're now seeing from the 1%. And by the way, before I show that, I want to say that I always believe that the fight between, criticizing power is anti-Semitic, which usually comes from Israeli media, Israeli government officials, etc. Sure. I believe that is a battle of the 1% versus the 99%. It's a battle between those that are trying to retain power or push the limits of their power, keep power, versus the rest of us who are just trying to live our lives and going, wait a minute, what? And here's a perfect example of that in an image. This is from today. So CNBC host David Faber says, well, now the new mayor, potentially of New York, is going to freeze all the rents. And then Jim Cramer's first response is, but how about the rich? Do they get shot? But what? Are they just going to get shot? And this reminds me
of Jim Cramer. I'm going to put him up there with Chris, what's his name?
Matthews. It's exactly what it is. Chris Matthews asked, if you remember, I don't know if it was Super Tuesday or some night where Bernie Sanders was having a big night in the Democratic primaries. He asked on a show that he was co-hosting on MSNBC probably, because it was still when he still had hardball. He asked, listen, if Bernie Sanders wins or something to that effect, if a socialist wins, does it mean we're going to be executing people in Central Park, right? And this is the kind of ridiculous fear-mongering that regular people like us are like, give me a fucking break. Like, who is this working on?
Why are they worried about this? Is Jim Cramer worried that we're going to march him into Central Park and hang him because he's rich? Is that what he thinks?
These people are so disconnected from reality that
Right,
may
right.
actually be something that he's afraid of. And so, good. I'm glad you're afraid of that.
Good.
I want you to be afraid. But unfortunately, depending on what way you're looking at it, that's not going to happen. We're not,
Right.
there's no French Revolution, Reign of Terror, whatever, going on here yet.
Man, imagine the guy. Imagine being asked if you're gonna if you think that the guy's gonna raise rents, and then your retort is nobody's gonna kill me because I'm rich. Like, how does your brain work like that?
It's just, yeah, here if we remember, February 8th, 2020, Chris Matthews warns of executions in Central Park if socialism wins. Of course, the other connection that they're doing here, the other scare tactic, which has long been held by Republicans, is that they're taking somebody who says, I wish there was a better name, somebody who says that they're a democratic socialist,
Right.
taking off the democratic, not understanding what the meaning is, saying socialism, and boom. It's kind of like the right when they say, well, actually Hitler was the head of the, National Socialist Party of Germany, when he took over a gutted party and hated socialism and hated everything on the left, etc. They're just doing the same nonsense that I think we're all catching on now. A majority of us are catching on.
Even in 20, I didn't feel like, or even 16, like I didn't feel like the electorate was as scared on the left of the word socialist or socialism as the right is, obviously.
Right.
We had many, and I think it was before Super Tuesday, is that they all went up there and everybody who wasn't Bernie was talking about how Bernie's a socialist, and he won Iowa, as I recall. And or maybe, I don't remember.
Well, he did, and there was the whole scandal with Pete Buttigieg and the dark app, like the company that was doing like the caucus app. But anyway, I digress. Yeah,
my point is that I don't think that the Democrat voters are as off put to that as the right is. Right. And I think that a lot of people who are like we said, this classical liberal, this left center, very, very tight left center area, are still, because they're they're sort of Republican, is what they kind of are.
And so,
what did the big guy say?
And so here we have a post. It started today. I think it's his first mention of Zhoran, and he says it's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zhoran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic. Because now we've skipped democratic socialists, we've gone to socialists. Now we're equating socialism and communism, so we move right to communist lunatic.
That we do.
Okay, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3, dummies all, backing him. There's a lot of commas here, guys. I'm trying to read this the way it's written. I don't really understand it. And even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, is groveling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. Now, I haven't seen the next one, which came out 3 minutes later, so I'm going to be reading this in real time. I have an idea for the Democrats to bring them back into play. After years of being left out in the cold, including suffering one of the greatest losses in history, the 2024 presidential election, the Democrats should nominate low IQ candidate Jasmine Crockett for president, and AOC +3 should be, what is AOC +3? Is that like the squad? Is that what he's trying to say? And AOC +3 should be respectively vice president and 3 high-level members of the cabinet added together with our future communist mayor of New York City, Zhoran Mamdani, and our country is really screwed. Now, I don't know. I liked everything he said here.
Yeah, apparently AOC +3 is Alexia Ocasio-Cortez with Diana Presley and Ilhan Omar. So
okay, yeah, it's the squad.
Exactly who we expected it to be.
Okay. So yeah, a great idea, actually. Jasmine Crockett's
future communist mayor of New York. I mean, that's amazing.
So this goes back to what we were just saying previously. These are the scare tactics. The left tries to use them too. In fact, There are reports coming out. None of this I've dug in to verify yet, but it sounds like the day of, so yesterday, somebody in the Cuomo campaign was sending out pro October 7th attack material to voters, suggesting that it was from Zohran, suggesting that.
Oh, I haven't read that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and I think we're going to see some of this. Just look at the Times of Israel, look at the Jerusalem Post, look at the things that were coming out about Mamdani right before today, and you'll realize how much money, how much influence, how much AIPAC type influence was put into trying to defeat Zohran. And even with the $20 million behind him and all of the propaganda that Cuomo had working on his side, the grassroots movement from Mamdani couldn't be stopped. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what you want. You want the nonsense to get pushed to the side. You hope that people see through it, obviously.
Right.
It's a tough one, and I just pulled it up. It looks like, in the general, he's going to be going against the current mayor, Eric Adams, who of course is embroiled with.
That'll be such an easy victory. I mean, assuming no other things change. And it's funny, there was talk of, and I didn't actually know what like November would look like. I'm not from New York. Okay. So
sure.
I wasn't looking that far ahead. I was really excited about this primary and just defeating Cuomo. There was talk about Cuomo playing a spoiler, but
yeah,
are people insane? I want Cuomo to play a spoiler. Who do you think he's going to spoil? Mamdani or Adams? I mean, what?
Well, I don't actually know the answer to that.
Yeah, so
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that it would be a great thing if Mamdani wins with the two corrupt guys splitting the ticket on the other side.
That's what I'm saying.
That'd be really funny.
You're either voting for the corruption we know, or this new, young, energetic, hopeful, inspiring person that is saying basically what we've said on this podcast, literally from our first episode of the podcast, which was that we believe in order to win elections in the United States, both at the local level and the national level, you need and I don't want to say populist because people get freaked out when you say that, but you need somebody that brings that sort of popularism to elections. Yeah. And Mamdani did that. That's it.
Yeah, again, he's doing the right thing. He's speaking about issues that the voter base can relate to, and he's proposing simple solutions. They may be complex in their implementation, but the solutions at the high level, like Medicare for all, for instance, with Bernie, is a high level idea that anyone can understand, and he's proposing them greatly.
And
I'll also point out that he is going to have a couple of other people on the ballot with him besides Mayor Eric Adams and possibly Cuomo. He's going to have Republican and founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa. I don't know how to say his name.
Okay.
And former federal prosecutor Jim Walden. So those are the Republican, nods on the ticket. And I have to say, I don't live in New York, but I haven't heard of either of those people. I've heard of everyone else on the ticket. As a non-New Yorker, I knew who Eric Adams was, and I know who Cuomo is. And obviously, as a political follower, we know who Mamdani is. Yeah. So,
I want to say one more thing about this before we move on too, is that this was, I think, the first ranked choice voting election in New York City for mayor, and I think we're going to get a lot of pushback now from moderates and Republicans, because Republicans have always been against ranked choice voting, but it proves something or helps progressives in a way that I don't think moderates were ready for. Because one of their talking points was always, listen, this guy can't win an election. So you have to vote for this guy. Otherwise he's going to lose. Well, now people could rank Zohran first and Cuomo second, assuming they did that. And that way,
Right.
if Zohran didn't get enough to pass, it would rank Cuomo up next, and then fine. Now, libs, you got your guy because my guy didn't win. Okay, it's I love it. I am all for it, and I think we're gonna see pushback from on ranked choice voting from all sides now, which means that we're doing something right.
Yeah, I think it's a great implementation. I think that it changes the nature of strategic voting, obviously,
Right.
because like you said, in a traditional first past the post vote, you have to be, very considerate of your vote, because you can't be like, well, I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders anyway. I'm going to write him into my ticket, because then you're taking away a potential vote for Hillary Clinton or whoever. But in ranked choice, like you said, if we were in 2016 again, most people could do I'm going to put Bernie first, and I guess if I have to, Hillary second, and who knows, it might change the outcome there. But at the very least, in primaries, it allows you to do something like you saw here. I mean, I'll point out that Brad Lander also ran with Zhoran Mamdani, and they had a very similar message where they were trying to focus on issues and solutions, and they spoke progressively, we'll say, to the broader electorate. And Cuomo lost by less than the difference of Brad Lander, right? And so there's still a chance, albeit a small one, but let's say that the ranked choice system works out such that everybody who voted Cuomo at number one everybody who voted Brad Lander at number one voted Cuomo number two.
Right.
Well, that means that Cuomo actually won the election, because in the next round where they do the counting, then he gets that 100,000 votes, and that puts him over the top. And so there is a scenario where people could be like, I just don't trust that other guy, but I want Lander. I like him as a Green Party candidate or whatever. And then I fall back to the traditional Dem, Cuomo, whatever. And so you still have your voice heard that way, where you're like, I voted for my guy first, and I got whoever second, and maybe it works out. But so we'll still see what the results are. But I think most people are predicting that Zhoran Mamdani will hold the lead, since he and Brad were so very, idealistically like comparable. They have the same sort of ideas, the same sort of ways to fix things. And so I think that they spoke the sort of same message. I think that people, so they probably voted the same way, just not Cuomo.
And I mean, that's another story that we had missed because we didn't have the pod last week, but Brad Lander was the guy who was trying to stop immigration from arresting somebody inside an immigration court last week, and was himself arrested. So yeah. I believe probably if you ranked Lander first, you had Zohran second.
I think that's the smart money. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I don't think there's any question. I mean, even Cuomo, which surprisingly Cuomo basically conceded last night, and said this was Mamdani's moment, and congratulations to him and all of that stuff. So
but does he run as a spoiler?
Yeah, hard to say. And I think it would be I personally think it would be hilarious.
Really?
I don't see. I don't know. A little nerve-wracking. I don't think he'll do it though. Nonetheless, I think he's. I can't say he'll do the right thing. I don't think he will.
No, I don't think so either. It's just funny to think about.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, those silly sex pests.
Those sex pests. Speaking of sex pests, actually, I don't think that Pam Bondi is a sex pest, though. Who knows? But I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. Can you tell me what the heck is going on here?
My God, man. So the headline says it all. Doesn't say it all, I should say, but DOJ sues every federal district judge in Maryland, challenging the due process rights. Okay, so this is insanity. The first thing I'll point out is that this is the first legal claim of its type, and I fully expect there to be a legal video on this in the coming days because it's so bizarre. The lawsuit challenges the core principle of judicial immunity for judges acting in their official capacity. So at the very first, this is the judges have ruled in a way that the DOJ doesn't like. So they sued the judges for that judgment that they rendered. And you can't do that. That's not a thing judges are allowed to do. Or rather, that's not something that anyone's allowed to do. You can't imagine you lose a lawsuit over, a car crash or something, and then you sue the judge because you didn't win the lawsuit. It's gibberish. It would get thrown out in the first 10 seconds it was seen by an actual judge.
Okay.
I mean, I expect that to happen in this case too, because it's so outlandish. But basically, the DOJ is arguing that this particular court of judges, I don't even know what they are, board of judges, has overstepped the judiciary boundary, which is one of the three branches of government. So I don't know how you do that because they're all equal. How can you overstep if you all have equal, whatever? By ruling that there must be a 2-day stay when they try and deport someone without due process. They're like, no, there's going to be a 2-day stay and we're going to get some due process in here. And now they're suing them for that ruling, ostensibly. It's I don't even know. Mark Elias obviously has the story here, and he's arguing about it as well, because this is very strange times we live in.
Right.
But I don't see this going anywhere, because if it does, then the whole judicial system is completely and utterly beyond repair. If any part of the judicial system, let's say that this makes it to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS is like, yeah, you can sue a judge for the judgment they lay down, then we're going to be like, I'm suing SCOTUS now. Who's going to oversee this?
I think that everybody agrees that this isn't going to go anywhere, but it is kind of shocking and terrifying that they're even attempting something like this.
The absolute gall of them of the DOJ and Trump's toadies is amazing. I'm constantly astounded by it. I remember thinking the first Trump term, they would do things, and I was like, man, this is insane. They're really pushing the envelope here. But then in Trump 2 Electric Boogaloo, they're going completely insane. Everything is off. Nothing is off limits. I'll do whatever I want, no matter how insane it seems. And lawyers are. I mean, the thing that sort of is boggling my mind is that the more lawsuits and filings and stuff we see out of the DOJ and the lawyers, associated with the DOJ and Trump admin generally, is that these lawyers are signing their names on these things in the idea that they're going to succeed insofar as this won't ruin their career as a lawyer.
Right.
If you signed on to this and you were some lawyer at some firm and you didn't win this case, that firm's firing you, and no other law firm is hiring you because of how ridiculous you are.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of law, practicing law as a lawyer.
I don't even think Pam Bondi is safe when this administration is over. Never mind all of the other lawyers that are working at the DOJ right now. I mean, to go back to your previous point, yeah, I remember Trump won and thinking how much I absolutely hated Bill Barr. But, the one thing about Bill Barr was that he was still albeit he had all of these views that we disagreed with, there were certain lines that he simply wouldn't cross, Yeah.
Well, I mean, he recognized the law as it was. And there were times, obviously, and this is true of both sides, Republican and Democrat, but there will be people who be like, I do not understand or interpret that law in your way. I think that's wrong. I'm going to try and argue it my way in court. And you're like, at least you're standing with your principles. I don't agree with them, but they get, at the very least, I can understand them making sense in your worldview. But this doesn't make any world sense. This is just insane.
No, it's insanity. Yeah. Okay, I wanted to share some breaking news before we
break some news here. I'm ready.
Breaking news from The Onion: Andrew Cuomo subpoenas gynecological records of the women who didn't vote for him. So I enjoyed that. Um,
Good.
okay, what else do we got? What do we want to move to next? We have
Tim Onion never misses, man.
no, they never.
It's
They
so funny.
really never miss. Man, I cannot believe, because we didn't have a pod last week. I guess the biggest breaking news of the week, and it's crazy that we're already like moved on to like other things,
I know.
right? It's so crazy that this is still it just disappears like this. This would be news for like a full year, maybe 10 years
Yeah.
ago, you know?
No, I know. The thing is like, well, go ahead and lead it.
Okay,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
I guess people who are just listening need to know what we're talking about, right?
Right.
We're talking about the assassination and attempted assassination of two Minnesota lawmakers. I mean, you hopefully, if you're listening, you already know
You've
about
heard.
this. You've
heard.
I hope to God that you've already heard about this. But Vance Bolter.
This is JD Vance?
No, similar name. I don't know if they're related.
Different Vance.
Yeah,
Got
could
it.
be the same family name. I do know that he is also a Trump supporter, and right-wing Christian, not extremist. What's the word? Evangelicalist. I don't know.
Extremist seems right. He shot
Well, sure,
people, so.
but hey, by the way, just because I'm about to go on and say that I don't, that I hate this guy, this Christian
Right.
nationalist, it
Yep.
doesn't mean I hate all Christians.
Yes, it does.
Did you get? Oh, okay.
You're anti whatever.
I'm anti
the
whatever
word
this
is.
guy is. So he's white and Christian.
Anti-evangelical.
So I'm
or whatever.
anti-white Christian, right? Is that how it
Yes,
works? Is that how
that's-
logical fallacies work? Yes, I believe it is.
That's why you're never getting elected in San Antonio.
So unfortunately, this man who was very sick and deranged disguised himself, or I guess he worked in security, so he had a SUV looking, police looking utility vehicle, and went to the home in the middle of the night of Democratic House Speaker in the state of Minnesota, Melissa Hortman. When she went to the door, he shot both her and her husband, and then he also shot John Hoffman, who was a state senator in Minnesota, and his wife, and that was about 9 miles away. And it turns out, of course, he had a list of Democrats and anti-abortion centers that were that he was targeting. So I think had he not been confronted by police at his second location where they exchanged gunfire and he somehow got away, and he started his whatever you want to call it, his runaways, getaways, whatever.
Right. The manhunt was on.
The manhunt was on. I suspect he would have been on to the next house and the next house and the next house. And for whatever ungodly reason, because he was appointed, or I should say, to make it clear, reappointed to a bipartisan committee in the state of Minnesota by Governor Tim Walz several years prior, the right-wing personalities who reach millions of people, I'm talking the cat turds, because of course he's your leader on the right, the Elon Musks and the Charlie Kirks of the world, started sharing that this guy was a crazed Democrat, a violent Democrat. Democrats are violent, going after other Democrats and anti-abortion clinics. And of course, it soon came out that this was not the case. He was a right-wing Christian nationalist, going after Democratic targets because of the rhetoric on the right.
Has it ever been, a lefty, progressive, crazy socialist or whatever that they talk about who's ever gone on the killing spree?
I think there was.
No.
Yes, there was that one guy.
There was the one guy.
Wasn't that baseball park? Shooting was supposedly. I mean, I don't know. But can we just?
I just like the reactionaries on the right. They're always like, They're always like, it's some crazy person on the left who's killing all these people on the left. And we're like, why? Why would that make any sense? Does that ever make any sense? And then the next day they're like, it's clearly a right-wing crazy person who's a little too, Christian and a little too gun nutty.
I mean,
he's got a vendetta.
Here it is, folks. I mean, it's posts like this. It's posts like the Truth Social post that Trump made, saying that Zhoran Mamdani is a communist, a communist lunatic. Where are the libel lawsuits, by the way? I mean, these kinds of things, the posts that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, with the ear of basically every American in the United States, calling you a communist lunatic, putting your life in danger. How is that just like, all right, on to tomorrow? I guess the president of the United States called me a communist lunatic.
You can't sue the president. We know that.
Oh, right. That's right. Because it was within his official duties.
Even before SCOTUS's ruling, you can't have civil suits against the president. It just would get in his way too much. So that was written in the Constitution. It can't happen.
It's written into the Constitution.
Yeah.
Is it?
You cannot sue the president while he's president.
I don't remember reading that. I'm not a constitutional lawyer.
I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it would interrupt his everyday duties is the idea behind it. So the president needs to focus on being the president and bombing Iran and stuff. And he can't be dealing with the nitty ditty of like talking to the lawyers about his 7,000 lawsuits because he doesn't know how to shut his mouth up. The expectation is you're going to have elect a president who knows how to shut his mouth up and not get into so many cases where he needs to be sued.
Okay,
in any case.
So anyway, no, just to make sure that people don't walk away from this going, you can't sue the president. You indeed can, and it is not. There is no presidential immunity in the U.S. Constitution. I don't know what you're talking about, but you can
must be getting confused about
sue
something.
the president in civil court under specific circumstances and with limitations, depending on whether the conduct in question was official or personal. And there is, so official acts, you cannot sue the president. Unofficial personal acts, yes, you can. Acts before the presidency, but while during his term as president, yes, you can. After leaving office, yes, you can. Immunity only applies for official acts and not unofficial or personal acts. Clinton versus Jones is an example. Clinton was sued during the presidency for acts that occurred prior to the presidency. So anyway, I think that leaves me with the question: how are we just allowing him to do this?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that the level that you have to reach to prove slander or libel or whatever that it isn't reached here on Truth Social posts.
But I don't know, man. I mean, I think I can prove that I'm not
sort of at the stage now where we should FAFO. I agree. I mean, maybe he takes some of his winnings and hires a lawyer, and he's like, I'm going to sue the president for libel. Why not?
There's got to be a pro bono firm out there that is like the opposite of all the pro bono firms working for the president that would gladly take on this case for the publicity.
Mark Elliott, would you take on this slander libel case? Zohran, and we'll figure it out.
I just don't get it. I really don't get it. Okay, so anyway, DOJ sues every federal district judge in Maryland. Hilarious. Nothing's gonna come of it.
No. I wouldn't think so.
Sorry, we were also on the. I'm going back 2 stories too far.
Skipping back, buddy.
Because we were on Vance Volter. So anyway, I don't know what's happening in his case. I don't know, next steps there. I can't believe this isn't like still the top story that we're all talking about, but this is just the times that we live in now. So
yeah, and I haven't. I'm surprised, frankly, but I haven't seen any rumblings on the right. Now, admittedly, I'm not on Twitter, so I don't really see rumblings on the right very much anymore, except when you post them to me directly to show me and fill me with hate. But
right, sure.
I haven't seen any rumblings on the right that are trying to do anything like equating this Vance guy with like a Luigi Mangione. Like I haven't seen them being like, oh, he's our
No, no, no.
You
I
know,
don't think we're seeing that
killed the
because
evil one's guy.
yeah, because they're still saying that it was either a false flag or he's an actual Democrat or whatever. So they're
They haven't accepted that they're just full of crazy people on their
right,
side.
right, right, right.
All
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I want to give an update on someone that we've been following a lot over the past couple of months is Mahmoud Khalil. And
Yeah.
I'm very, excited. Again, this is something that was kind of just went under the radar for probably a lot of people. But he was released from ICE custody. He's giving tons of interviews. He's talking about his experience. I think one of the things alarming things that he said, which I think we could all probably already guess, is that it doesn't matter all the flyers that you read about knowing your rights and whatever. Your rights don't matter once you're in ICE custody. You have no rights.
Your rights are out the window. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're out the window. And I'm really impressed that he still is doing these interviews. He's speaking out. He's back at rallies. He's back fighting. Happy that he's gotten to see his child. I'm thrilled that the judge in the case that released him did not even impose. There was no bond payment requirement. There was no electronic monitoring requirement. I think that was obviously the right thing to do, and probably part of the reason why you're not hearing about it too much from the right. It's like, all right, let's just let this one kind of slide. But I think
well, I mean, you're not hearing it so much from the right because it was such a disaster for them.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
And I think that even like AOC during one of the most recent hearings was just railing about it, and the point's quite clear: the man's here legally, and you put him, you detained him in an ICE detention center because you didn't like what he had to say. And the right will be quick to point out, like, well, we revoked his visa. And I would say, yes, after you detained him, you revoked his visa. He was here legally, did nothing wrong,
right,
and then you detained him.
Right.
So I mean, if that's true, then I don't see there being much of a step from I was detained by ICE, they revoked my citizenship, and now I'm here illegally. So they're going to put me in El Salvador or wherever.
So they are obviously they're still pursuing his deportation, but of
course, because they revoked his visa, which is their,
right,
it's their prerogative. If they're like, we don't want him in the country anymore, he's not a citizen, he should go back where he came from. Fine, there's a process for that, but it doesn't involve putting him in a prison cell to do so.
Right. I want to point out though that the hopeful thing here, as disgusting as this whole situation is the government came after Khalil in hopes of squashing that dissent that was rising up, that
right,
pro-Palestinian activism, that anti-Israeli right-wing extremist corrupt government. And what happened was they thought they were doing that, and 20 more people popped up. And they tried to squash another one, and then 80 people popped up. And then look what happened. So that's the one hopeful thing that I think we can take away. And this leads into another thing that we wanted to talk about anyway, which is the No Kings protests, is that we don't take shit lying down, right? You don't, Mike, if they came and arrested you for doing the Blue Sedition podcast, you know what I mean? I'm not going to stop podcasting,
right.
I'm going to be even louder, have more guests on, probably have a bigger reach. All that's to say, please arrest Mike first. And I'll
wait a minute.
all of the posts that could be arrested for, he's the one making them.
Oh no.
So
probably though.
It's to say, in America, I'm hopeful that we see something like that happen from this authoritarian lunatic, and we don't back down. So that's the hopeful thing that's to come out.
No, I know. I mean, and the No Kings protests were so big, and I think that it really does go to show, like, Americans are standing up for Americans,
right?
And and our way of life and our rule of law. And we're fed the shit of this whole thing. Like, we're just going to stand up and yell a little bit about it and let you know that we're not on your side. And the people who fly, in the wings and are just like, I don't really know, and I always vote this way or whatever. They see these big things, whether they get it through the news sources or literally out their windows or on their, drives to work or whatever. And they say they're forced to see it and go, wow, that's so many people. I wonder what that's about. And then they have to go and figure it out.
And I wouldn't say, I kind of want to use the term radicalized, right? Because I remember in, I want to say 2014, 2015, I've always been somewhat of a left. Not somewhat of a left. I've always been on the left. But I don't think I was really moved until I started going to these protests in Los Angeles in like 2014, 2015. And so this has what this did, all of these protests across the country in every major city, even small cities. My city had one, my neighboring city had one. You couldn't drive between our towns and cities without seeing them. And I live in a suburb with near an army base, with a lot of trucks with MAGA flags on them.
It lives in a very red area.
I live in a very red area of California, and I was shocked at the turnout that I was seeing. So this means something, and this is going to turn people.
So it's gonna. If nothing else, it's going to uplift people who feel like we're saying, broken down a little bit. They feel disappointed in the country and the way that the rule of law is applying to people at the moment. So I'm glad to see it happen. I was glad to see the big turnout that we got from it.
Yeah, and on the flip side, the weird authoritarian orange turmeric terrorist president guy that we have, he had
him too.
We had him, and we still do.
I was kind of hoping we were past him. I thought it was like a mono, like a one and done type situation, but
yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to pull up this one here. So in contrast, his little
he had a King's parade.
He had a Yes Kings parade, which was also apparently his birthday. And I don't now that I'll be honest. Okay, I got to give him credit. This looks like the rally that my small town had for the No Kings protest.
This looks like maybe 2,000 people, maybe.
Dude, this is this is pathetic.
It's not nothing, but you didn't fill it even out to the George Washington Monument. Come on.
It's embarrassing. It's weird. Frankly, this right here, this whole thing
is
just weird.
Yeah.
Right? This is creepy and weird. This is some North Korean communist bullshit here.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Military parades are very strange to me. I understand the nationalistic nature of the right, and I understand them wanting to celebrate the armed forces, but we have plenty of days to celebrate the armed forces. We don't need to parade. They don't need to be in a parade, frankly.
Even though I don't believe in most of the things that our current veterans fought for, whether you're in the Iraq War or Afghanistan or whatever, first of all, I appreciate them, and I understand those types of parades. Okay, here's the veterans. It's Veterans Day. It's a Veterans Day parade. That I understand and appreciate. Celebrate those people.
Right.
Putting your active military out in the streets with all the tanks and the things and your leaders there and all of these weird political speeches, dude, that's weird. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand the wanting to do that. I don't know, man.
Boy, this is fucked.
I think parades that's depressing. Isn't that the most depressing thing you've ever seen?
Oh my god. Ugh. For those who are just listening to the show, we've got the Boston Dynamics robot army dogs, with US Army flags on their back with a soldier marching behind him. What a fucking hellscape. Oh my Lord.
It's just bizarre to me. I don't kind of get it.
Um,
Yeah, no, and I think, and again, I think that there's obviously going to be a lot of people in the armed services who are going to be very pro-military and pro-nationalist, and they're going to naturally, lean right and be in Trump's orbit for that reason. But I know at least a few people my age, my demo, who went into the army because they were going to get more options that way. They were going to
yeah,
have their colleges
college
paid
paid
for.
for,
They were going to have
exactly.
a
A
lot of them
job when they
would
get
actually
out.
have skills and jobs that they would get out,
Yeah.
exactly, almost like entering the trades and stuff. And the couple of people I talked to about it, they're like, "This is so weird. Why would you do this? I don't even
It's
care about this."
my grandfather, my last living grandfather, fought in wars for the United States,
Yeah,
and
same.
he is left leaning. He doesn't like this. He doesn't understand it. I played with a couple. I played poker with a couple of people that I was worried about their reaction to this, and ICE and everything going on in LA, and two guys who were both in law enforcement and in the army, but Marines, both of them. To me, said some surprising things like I wasn't ready for. How disgusted they are by everything that's going on.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I want to say the tide is turning, but the tide turned to the point where we got here, and
Right.
I'd like this to be the end of it.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm sure that, I mean, it has to leave sort of a bad taste in your mouth if you're like, army family, if you're army folk, like that's who you are. And they're like, you have to do this army parade or, military parade, whatever you call it.
right.
And they're like, oh, for us. And they're like, well, the president wants it.
Well,
And
it's
it's
for
his
him.
birthday.
It's his birthday. It's
you're
your
like,
birthday too. It's the army's birthday too. But it's his birthday.
you're
Kinda.
like the 3-star general going, where did he fight in? Why does he
Yeah.
get a parade?
Yeah. Well, he had brain spurs, or I mean, bone spurs.
Brain spurs. Yeah, I like it.
Brain spurs. Okay. Personally, cringe, embarrassing moment for our country and the president of the United States, in my opinion.
Luckily, it didn't look like many people are going to remember it anyway. So whatever.
That takes us to the hour. I feel like we didn't cover half the things that we wanted to talk about.
There's just so much happening.
I think we should do a live show on Thursday. Like just talk about some of the
Tomorrow
things that are
is
going
Thursday.
On. Huh? What?
Tomorrow is Thursday.
Oh wait, we moved. That's right. We moved the podcast to. Maybe we can do a live show on Thursday tomorrow. Maybe we can't. We'll see what we can do. I forgot we moved the show to today because I wanted it to be after the election. Yeah, that's why we did it.
Right.
That's why we did it. But it worked out. It worked out well, nonetheless.
Yeah. First election we had that we weren't up going like, oh my god.
At least first of all, I was starting to worry that we were cursed because we've been covering a lot of elections since the podcast started, and they have not been going well for us. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, thankful that this one did, and look forward to the general. Gives us something to look forward to in November at least.
We appreciate it.
Well, we should track what else is going on in November, because there were some other primaries that came up recently. I think Virginia was one of them, and so we should maybe set up a little election tracker to see what we can follow. And I think I'm not the vote blue no matter who blue wave type of rah guy, but I think that there is going to be a significant pendulum swing back in the other direction. If
I have to imagine
if the Dems play their cards correctly.
I think that the takeaway from this primary is that you can win, especially in local elections in this way, with messaging to the people. Don't play the culture war. Don't buy in for any of the appealing to everyone nonsense. Just focus on issues and ignore the rest as noise.
Right.
And really just hammer those home and just talk about how weird the other fucking guy is. He's weird.
Talk about the weird sex pest that you're
I
running
want
up
to
against.
fix this stuff. Why is this sex pest here? Can we get? He's corrupt.
And I will say that Mamdani did exactly that. I mean, in the interviews that he said, you know me, and you know that I kind of live for those cringe moments.
Yes, you do.
Where I will look at somebody in the eye and say the cringe thing and watch their face, and while other people are like, oh, I live for it. But even when I saw some of the things that he was saying directly to Cuomo, I was like, God damn! Like, I don't know if I would have the balls to do that on a national stage, but that's what you've got to do to these guys.
That's what we need.
So awesome.
I love it.
I'm really excited. So anyway, that's it for our show today. Thank you everybody for listening or for watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, please give us a 5-star review because it really helps bump us up a little bit. It's free to do, I think. I don't know if the capitalists are charging for that yet. I think it's also still free to subscribe on YouTube. Google's probably trying to find a way around that as well. But while it's still free, please give us that sub, ring the bell, add a comment if you hate us. Are you a Cuomo-sexual? I want to know why. Right.
We didn't even talk about the Cuomo-sexuals. I forgot about that.
Right.
Don't forget to like.
Don't forget to like. And we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.